Hi, Dr. Sharon. Thank you so much for coming on Power Women Wellness. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Dr. Lahana. How are you?
Good. We're going to get this again, you guys. We just first started recording and there was a power surge. So we are
So
going to hopefully
crazy.
make sure there's no tech issues now.
That'd be awesome.
Okay, so we wanted to start off with you telling us a little bit more about your career path and how you got started as a dentist and what
Mhm.
also moved you in dentistry from conventional to an integrative biological way of thinking.
Yeah, I was really fortunate. I grew up with my father being a dentist, and so I had exposure to the field all while I grew up. I didn't really get serious about going into it till I was well into college. But I did get to work in the office and see what it was like for, for the dental life. And my father was a very progressive dentist, an excellent dentist, and he always had a very holistic mindset about his patients. So that all just came pretty natural.
Yeah, yeah,
But
I love that.
my my seriousness about it really came from my own health issues. When I was a young dentist, and I'd had my first child, and I started to have just a lot of fatigue and overall body aches. And it was difficult to find a physician at that time that could diagnose something other than exhaustion. I heard a lot of,
Yeah.
oh, well, you're a young mom, you're a professional, you're working full time, you have small children. Of course, you don't feel great. But I knew
Yeah.
there was more to it. So ultimately, and this was in the mid 1990s, it was a little challenging to find, I guess functional medicine wasn't particularly
I bet.
standard then at all. So I did find some doctors who were able to identify some toxicities, especially mercury. So
Wow.
those silver kind of gray looking fillings are made of mostly mercury. And even though I wasn't placing them in the mouth a lot, even as a young dentist. I was around the material because we're still always having to remove those fillings. And between that and other environmental exposures, I was very loaded up with mercury. It's not an easy,
Wow.
heavy metals are not easy to detoxify from, as I'm sure you know.
Yeah.
So I was fortunate at that time to tap in. It took some looking at different dental communities around the country, and found some other dentists who were very much in on the same track, and learned that there are safe ways to handle that material. And then also, it's quite a journey to try to detoxify from that, and then set up lifestyle situation where I could have good immune system and good overall health to sustain me through my career and raising my kids. So
I love
um,
that.
yeah,
Yeah, I love that. I know. I always say how appreciative I am of dentists like you that take that concept of being a whole person because our teeth is so connected
hmm
to so many parts of our body. I know that us specializing in gut, I'm always like, well, the oral cavity is the beginning of the GI tract. So
thank
if you want,
you.
if you want better gut
Yeah,
health, you got to work on your teeth. But
yeah,
I know from the patient side of it, I've been exposed to like the poor recommendations or maybe just the lack of knowledge. Maybe it's just not a part of the typical conventional curriculum of
yeah.
like how the mouth is connected to other parts of the body and then also how other parts of the body can connect to the mouth. Like, right, it might be a little chicken or the egg scenario of like what becomes first, but
Sure.
that's why we got to work on all those areas. And I think
Right.
I actually was just on a conversation with someone and she was telling me how she has like a mercury filling and she was like looking to get out. I'm like, oh my gosh, yes, you definitely should. And she was saying how the first guy dentist she went to, he was just like, oh yeah, we'll just take it out. And she already kind of like looked into things and sometimes,
hmm
you'll see that people suit it up. Like it's very like it's taken very seriously because of the
Right.
exposures. And this dentist was literally just be like, no, like we have a little suction thing, but like take it out, like no precautions for him.
Right. Right.
I'm like, what? I'm like, that sounds crazy because exactly like the exposure of it is very dangerous and it is a hard one
It
to get
is.
rid of.
I
So,
remember when my daughters were in elementary school, somebody dropped one of those old thermometers on the floor, and it broke, so the
my
little
gosh.
tiny droplet of mercury was on the floor. They closed down that room, and they it was treated very seriously for the
Wow.
hazardous material that it is. So
Wow.
then I'm like, okay, that makes sense, but why would we be so careless when it's in
Yeah.
the mouth of our children and in the mouth of a lot of us. And then
Yeah.
in the industry, if we're up so close to it all the time. So, yeah, it
Yeah.
is definitely a hazardous material and it's
Yeah.
very toxic. They say it's the most toxic non radioactive substance on Earth.
Wow.
And
I
it's,
would believe it.
and you know
And
how, have you ever played with mercury? Like, hopefully you haven't, but it's liquid at room temperature. It's a cool material. But as a little
no.
kid, we used to go down to my dad's office and it was in bottles because it was mixed kind of almost by hand for those fillings. And you could play with it on the tabletop, not understanding how toxic it is. But the fact that it's
Wow.
liquid at room temperature tells us that it is kind of a volatile material and you can inhale it and get toxicity from it being in your mouth 100%.
Wow. No, all I remember, yeah, being younger and having the thermometer. And I remember my mom being like,
Yeah.
careful not to bite the thermometer. I had no idea like why, but obviously you
Good job,
shouldn't
mom.
bite. Yeah, just something that's inside of it. So I remember that, but that's the only thing I remember. But that's
Yeah,
hilarious that you
it's
were
crazy.
playing with mercury. That's
I
crazy.
know.
The things that we don't know, obviously.
That's
And now
right.
I feel like it is one of the most studied heavy metals. And maybe that's why we find that it's
Hmm.
like one of the most dangerous ones because we now have all the research to also back that up
Yeah,
as well.
I think
Um,
so.
but I love the way that you view wellness and body, mind, and spirit. And so you
Hmm.
mentioned that like you go through different seasons where maybe one of these things take the lead and then you dive deeper. So what season are you in now? And I know you wrote like emotional, physical, spiritual, social, like what is taking the lead?
Yeah, that is such a lovely question. I feel really fortunate. I'm in a stage of life where my children are grown. I have two daughters. They are adults and they are wonderful young ladies. So I love having adult children. I have a little grandbaby. Um, and they're all in a different state. I'm in Colorado, they're in Michigan, but so I don't have that full time in the house commitment of raising the kids. So I have more private time. Um, that is wonderful. I can get up early and do my routines, and I'm not bothering anybody. That and then I can focus a little bit more on my own personal development, my spiritual development,
Mm,
um, and pretty much the freedom to purchase and cook and eat what I want when I want. Um,
good for you.
it's if I still had little kids, I'd be rolling my eyes like seriously that when you're not having to manage the
Yeah.
diet and everything of the family, it's kind of nice.
Yeah.
Now the flip side of that is there are other challenges of the years that I've been in the industry as a dentist. I do a lot of long procedures. I'm in
Mm,
chronic postures that I'm always compensating for as far as upper back and neck and shoulders and hips and dentists have a lot of ergonomic challenges. Um,
I've always thought that whenever I get work done,
yeah,
I'm like, that poor man or woman, whoever your dentist is, I'm like,
right.
they are bending over for so long.
For so long. Yeah. So I've been lucky. I have a personal trainer that's been fundamental for me for a long, long time. If I don't counteract some of that repetitive motion and static posture situation, I would not be able to still be practicing, I don't think. Um,
Wow.
and it's really important you have to have acute vision. We all wear those loops, but still,
Yeah.
the eyesight, manual dexterity. So there's quite a lot that I do just to stay physically functional. And
Yeah.
at this point, still, I have to be at a pretty high level to do the dentistry that I'm doing. So, um, yeah, there's a lot of my lifestyle that's centered around the nutrition and the physical um,
Yeah.
management of all that.
Yeah.
But I can do it. I'm
Yeah.
really thankful. I still feel good,
I
and
love
uh,
that.
and I can dive a little deeper, like I said, into some things I didn't have time for before.
Yeah, yeah, I love
Hmm.
that. I feel like that's actually a really great niche. I don't know if it's like a personal trainer or chiro or whoever, but I'm like,
Yeah,
there should be a niche for dentists because there
really.
is all of those same, every dentist probably experiences that. So I'm like, there
Yes.
needs to be something there. So I don't know if anyone needs a business idea. There you go.
Seriously. There's plenty of articles and things about like certain like exercises even just to do throughout the day for dentists. And
Oh
there
my
is a
gosh.
field of ergonomics for dentists. But yeah, I think
Interesting.
we all need to have somebody physically helping us because
Yeah.
um, I couldn't do it. I don't think I mean, I'd have a lot harder time doing it on my own. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. For sure. And when you were sharing about like, I don't know, your path into dentistry and
yeah,
obviously having a dad that, probably had that, gave you that initial inspiration. It was really cool
uh-huh.
to see. But was there ever a time in your life where that purpose felt unclear or fuzzy or no, it's always been like straight shot.
I didn't even think about it till I was well into college, but I was like you.
Okay.
I was on my path to med school.
Okay.
I loved the sciences. I loved learning about biochemistry and anatomy and
Yes.
everything. Um, but one summer in college, I went back home and worked with my father just really to have a summer job and to help him out. And I started to see that medical, I guess, the way that he was with his patients and what he got to do in a different light. And I was starting to look at medicine, and unless you're doing procedures like as a surgeon,
Hmm.
you're doing a lot of talking and thinking and writing prescriptions.
Yeah.
And I saw he got to do fun and cool things, and he had ongoing patients. That's the other thing. Like in dentistry, you usually have people that you know over a long period of time, so you become part of each other's lives in a certain way.
Yeah.
And I got to just see how that went, and I started to just consider it in a different way. And I'll be honest, I don't know that I would have, this would have been in the 1970s, early 80s. It wasn't real common to have women in dentistry or in medicine at
Wow.
that time. It was really my dad just looking at me one time at the end of a long work day and saying, "Hey, Sharon, I think you ought to be a dentist." And
Oh.
it could have felt like pressure, but he was just
Yep.
looking at me with caring eyes, and he just saw that I maybe lit up at certain things. And I remember
Yeah.
my first reaction was, "Oh, I couldn't possibly do that. I don't." There's so much hand-eye coordination. There's so much manual dexterity. Your feet are pushing the pedal, and you got right hand doing one thing, left hand doing another. He was like, "Well, you've played musical instruments. You've got the hands for it. You can do that." I was like, "Oh,
Wow.
okay. Well, maybe I'm not smart enough." He's like, "What? Your 4.0 isn't good enough? Like, of course you can do that." So he sort of talked me out of my barriers, which I'm grateful
Aw.
for, because not every, young woman has that kind of a mentor with their father.
Yeah.
So yeah, that kind of changed everything. I was like, "Oh, okay, what do you have to do to take the dental admission test?" And start
Seed
looking at, yeah,
planted.
that's right. It's so big.
I love that. I know. I felt the same way in pre-med when you're kind of getting in those core classes. I loved anatomy and physiology for sure. I don't
Hmm.
know, biochem. I could totally give or take that one if I wanted to. That
Okay,
one was
yeah,
difficult. But I remember like immunology and then pretty much like that piecing. It was pharmacology too, but I remember that piecing together of like, here's an issue, here's the prescription. And that's kind
right.
of as deep as it went. Like there really
Yes,
isn't anything more outside of like tell them to eat healthy and exercise, but pretty much like what medication or procedure or surgery, which, obviously we
exactly.
definitely need them. But that was pretty much it. And I remember thinking like, that's it. Like, so
Yeah,
basically I'm just gonna, yeah, work and just try to find a diagnosis. And then when I find that diagnosis, you just find a pharmaceutical. And I'm like, got it. And I'm like, I don't know, that doesn't really feel fulfilling to me.
yeah, I
So
agree.
I very much remember that like aha moment that happened to
Yeah,
me too. That was like, okay, maybe I should look into something like different.
yeah. Well, are you glad you did?
I did. Oh my gosh, yes,
Yeah,
yes. And I was a young mom too, so I had my son at 17.
yeah,
So with that, I think, that mom brain just turns on and you're like, okay, I want to make sure that I'm like flexible and I'm there for them when they need me to be. So
yeah,
that the type of the career too, like made me think like, is this what I want to do? Or, have something a little bit more flexible. So obviously I did not
yeah,
know what that looked like because even when I was in college, like functional and all this it was a thing, but it was still like it's not mainstream like it is today, where like at
right.
least everyone knows about it. No, that wasn't the
Yeah,
case. Like it
yeah.
was still felt pretty conventional or nothing.
Yep.
Um, so I very
And
much
I
remember
think
that.
the educational system does give you a good baseline.
Mhm.
for a lot of those core sciences,
Yeah.
and you do need, I do think the pharmacology is interesting, and it helps you learn a lot about how the body works.
Yeah. Yep.
But it's not, that whole system isn't necessarily geared toward optimal health.
Yes.
It's looking for a disease and a treatment for that disease, but that's a very different side of the coin from how do we optimize our humanness, our health, our how good we feel, how our longevity, you know,
Yeah.
that's a very different perspective,
Yeah.
which is to me gets to a lot more of a holistic. People say, "What do you mean by holistic dentistry?" Well, the most basic thing is, let's look at this as part of a whole system of this person and their lifestyle and their social structure and their
Mm.
and their goals in life, and um, it's just looking at things from a much broader perspective. That
Yeah.
to me is just where life is really at. It's not down in the muck of the biochemistry pathway that makes this drug the best one for you. Um,
Mhm.
those can
Yeah.
be great additions to people's health path, but it's not actually where my passion is for
Yeah.
as a healthcare provider.
Yeah, I love that. And I know like I love gut health and it's gosh, it's connected to so many like honestly, I would argue probably every area of the body. And I'm sure you would say that
Yeah.
too about oral health. And I feel like it is getting, I feel like biological dentistry is getting its moment, which I'm so happy about because I will say
Uh-huh.
this is like the one industry that has taken, I think maybe the longest to like really get more
Hmm.
mainstream with because now I feel like people are understanding that there's a whole different side of dentistry that they never realized there was,
Right.
which is cool and I'm glad. But
Yeah.
do you have anything you'd want to say too about like oral health and the connection it has to the entire body?
There's so many different ways that I look at that, and it comes up in conversation with patients from different levels. One of the ones that I think is really fascinating is like, I don't know, Lahana, in your field, do you do much related to energy pathways? Maybe even a Chinese medicine type of view of the body as a conductive set of meridians or circuits?
I'm familiar, but I don't
Yeah,
utilize it, or I'm not trained in it to utilize
right,
it.
right. But just to think of how, when a little baby is forming in the womb and the embryo is forming and the brain is developing, and from the brain these circuits start going down and entering into the formation of all the different organ systems. But on those pathways, all of those go through a tooth. So there's a very direct circuitry that has our teeth connected to the rest of our body in different ways. And in Chinese medicine, it's been mapped out over thousands of years. So that it's so fascinating to think about, okay, I have an upper first molar that's a dead tooth. So it's been treated for a root canal, and then it has a metal crown on it. And that is such a disruption to that energy circuit. That's just one way that I think is fascinating to look at it.
Wow.
And I've seen so over the years so many different times when patients will address something like that, and far-reaching parts of their body have improvement or healing because of addressing something dentally.
Yeah,
So
yeah. And
that's yeah.
I've seen it too with thyroid cancers and then them
Okay.
linking it back to certain teeth connected to the thyroid and them having
Yes,
like a past injury on it. And it's fascinating. It's so
it is
fascinating.
so fascinating. There's people who have mapped out different emotional ties to various teeth. I'm not an
Mm,
expert in that, but there's certain teeth that are really um, correlated with certain emotional traumas. That's wild.
interesting. I
But then
believe
there's
it.
the whole toxicity aspect. So many dental materials. We already talked about the mercury
Yeah.
fillings, but there's a lot of other things that can be placed in people's mouths, especially 20, 30, 40 years ago, that are not supportive of health.
Is it getting
And
better?
then
Do you feel like we're getting
um,
better options?
we're definitely getting better options. It's a little slow to come through for people who still have a lot of that older dentistry,
Mm,
how that might be tied to their chronic illness, chronic inflammation, diabetes, high blood pressure, So to a lot of times people don't realize that much of the crown work they've had, even if it looks white, has a big metal substructure. So, and they might have various metals. So they have a mercury filling over here and a gold crown here and a porcelain crown with a metal core over here. Now they have various metals in an acidic environment, which the mouth is, and this becomes like a battery. It
Mm,
really has galvanic potential that can be disruptive on so many levels for total health, especially when it comes to cognitive function and brain health. It's
yeah.
kind of a crazy thing. And then all those metals have really some attraction for electromagnetic radiation. So I feel
Wow.
like the problems people are having are exaggerated now compared to when I was a young dentist, based on the amount of Wi-Fi, cell phone usage, and magnetic, electromagnetic radiation that we're all bathed in.
Wow.
So
Wow.
yes, there's a lot. You don't need to have metal under your crowns anymore. Um, that's a great improvement. A lot of the dental implants, which replace a tooth in the jaw, the classic ones in the U.S. are titanium, but ceramic implants are a wonderful option, and they're making a headway in the U.S. much
Nice.
more rapidly in other parts of the world. But um, so yeah, it's getting
I'll get
improved, and I
there.
don't think people need to have mercury fillings. I I'm still discouraged when I hear that dentists are still placing those.
Wow.
But
That
I
is
think
surprising.
it's diminishing more and more, and it's being
Yeah.
outlawed. It's being banned and phased out in parts of Europe and South America. And so I think hopefully in our lifetime, a lot of that we at least won't be adding new problems for people
Yeah.
with those
Yeah.
materials.
Yeah. I know that one of the things that you said you love doing for your wellness is cooking and real
Hmm.
food. So I would love to just kind of hear, what does like a day look like? And like, what's your breakfast, lunch, and dinner? Like, what does that look like?
It's That's a very sweet question, and I must tell you, it changes. I'm still prone to the fad of the times,
Yeah.
and I went through a couple years ago. I really got detailed into the intermittent fasting and ketogenic diet, and then I went strict carnivore, and everything. I think all those things have added different layers of health, different amounts of nutrition in different ways.
Yeah.
Um, Now I'm back to a little more um, balanced, I guess you'd say,
Yeah.
and I have a whole new kind of a green smoothie routine that I do in the morning.
Yeah.
I'm in and out of caffeine and coffee. I don't know about you, but I have a love hate with it. I'm better off without it, but I love some morning coffee.
I'm a
So
matcha girl, but
are
same. Like,
you?
I love my morning matcha. Like, yes.
Yeah, I do love matcha too. I've gone in and out of that. And then once I get in on a trend, I seek out just probably like a lot of your clients, the very best sourcing, the
Yeah.
cleanest way to do it. But then I do try to keep my brain in a ketogenic state as much as I can, because I feel like I just function better and
Yeah.
my energy stays more solid. So it's kind of kooky. My waiting room is kind of out where the patients sit for reception. It's just a small little office. And so it's kind of cozy. And my
Hmm.
patient saw me grabbing a cold grass-fed burger patty that I had cooked the night before out of the fridge to just eat cold. Not very glamorous, but it gives me good energy
Yeah.
and sustains me. And
Yeah.
then I do like for dinner, it's just very simple. Some veggies, some good well-sourced protein, meat. I do like
Love.
animal fats. I love olive oil. Um, I love
Yeah.
I love me a baguette, but I try to keep it to a minimum with that kind of
Yeah.
a lot of the processed grains. Try to
Yeah.
keep it keep to minimize it, but
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I know. Well, I think people also feel like it has to be so, yeah, fancy or extra. And
yeah.
I'm like you. I'm like, I mean, give me a grass-fed burger patty, side of
Hmm.
veggies, and like
Yep,
I'm good too. It doesn't have to be
that's good.
complicated.
Right. And then when you're having company or when my kids come, it's fun to play with new recipes and things. But
Yeah.
yeah, my basics are real simple.
Yeah. And I feel like you
Hmm.
said, like the season of life that you're in, having adult children, like I probably
Hmm.
would imagine simple is better. My kids are not
Right.
little, they're 15 and 11, but they're still,
Okay.
home and I'm still cooking for them. So yeah, I'm still in the season of like, yes, they would totally kill me if they're like, if I eat this one more time. So I need to get a little bit more creative
That's right.
naturally just while they're here. But I'm sure in
Hmm.
that season of life, it is just keep it simple. I'm cooking for just me. So
Right.
yeah,
I feel blessed because I do seem to tolerate dairy well. So I
nice.
love like, cottage cheese and that. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
Colorado is a state that doesn't allow raw dairy um to
I
be
think
purchased.
all states though do that. I'm pretty sure that's like pretty much most states,
Is
but
it? Okay.
you have to say it's for pet
Oh yeah.
only.
And then or maybe you can buy a share.
Yes, or like yeah,
Um
through a farm, not through a
right.
store. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe that's how they get around it. But when I can get raw dairy, I love that. I
Yes.
just love I love to have a mix of things that contribute to a complex microbiome that's robust. And
Yeah.
um, as we know, so much of our immune system is centered within our gut. So kind of feel how I'm doing as far as like not catching every cold that runs around and
Yeah.
feeling generally good is so much about overall the way the
Yeah.
gut health.
Yeah.
I know I'm
Um,
preaching to the choir here.
Yeah, but no, even same with like I've read a lot of like the dental diet by Dr. Stephen Lin. Like I've read a lot of
Hmm.
those books too. And I feel like good quality grass-fed dairy was typically always one of the top foods I feel like everyone could agree on of like the importance
Right.
it has like on our teeth. So
Yeah.
I love that. And so what does
Mm.
your teeth routine look like? Like what are you doing morning, night, during the
Yeah.
day?
Well, my whole dental story is its own colorful, long story. So I don't want to bore you with it, but I will tell you, even though my father was a dentist, because of the way my bite fit, no matter how many braces I had, it was many, many times, I had a TMJ and bite issue that was very
Wow.
disruptive to my life. So I ended up with a lot of dental work as probably in my late 30s, early 40s that disrupted my teeth immensely. I had crowns done all the way around my mouth to create a whole new bite, which worked beautifully. But I ended up with a bunch of root canals back in that time.
Oh,
And that was
wow.
not good for my health.
Yeah.
And so ultimately, I had some very advanced oral surgery done. I actually went to Switzerland to have a clinic there and a dentist there take care of it for me a couple years ago, so that I now have
Wow.
well some of these dental implants we were just talking about that are ceramic. I have half of my teeth are now dental implants.
Oh my gosh, I'm so impressed. Okay, is that as scary as it? Obviously, I think most
Hmm.
I don't know. I feel like sometimes the things that make me nervous is simply because I don't understand how to do it.
Right,
So I
right.
always joke and say, if I learned how to fly a plane, if I went to school for dentistry, I will not be nervous anymore. So is it as
Yeah,
nerve-wracking? Because I feel like implants, when you think like, oh my gosh, I'm drilling something into my jaw, is it as scary as it sounds?
it's really not.
Okay, okay.
But I'd had so much done within my mouth over my whole lifetime. I was probably desensitized. Um, but what's great now is that I have all those functional teeth, basically.
Yeah.
Um, so a lot of non-metal crowns over my non-metal implants, and all that infection and those old root canals are gone. So mine's a
Nice.
little challenging, but what I think is it's like making a comeback is the water flosser or the water pick,
Yeah.
because it's such a wonderful little power washing tool that you can manipulate into all the nooks and crannies, whatever they may be. People have bridges, people have crowns, fillings that may not be as smooth as they could be, different things. So I love the water pick, and I just don't get too hyped up on the brushing, only because I feel like if you
Ooh.
understand the technique, you can kind of make do with almost any toothbrush around. And I don't even
Yeah.
think the toothpaste is all that important. I'm maybe a little different in that regard. I feel like
Okay.
the simpler the better.
Yeah.
If somebody can, but I do think for patients to do hands-on instruction with them in the mirror and show them the angle, how much pressure, how to manipulate the brush to get all the different parts of each tooth. If they can do that with a simple toothbrush, they'll be okay no matter where they are.
I love that. Well, I mean, sometimes it's overwhelming because there's all these products
I
and things
know
that come out. So like
exactly
honestly, I love like with food, simple the better. I mean,
that's maybe I've come full circle on that because yeah, I there's great toothpaste products. I think we've hopefully you and your clients have started to learn that constant use of real harsh mouth rinses is not good for your
mhm.
health. So I don't even really use a mouthwash. I don't think the swishing of a product is all that critical if you're eating a good
What about the
diet.
oil pulling trend?
So I think it's nice. It kind of thins out the microbiome a little bit. I think it's a bit misleading because the pulling word makes it sound like it's actually pulling something
Pulling.
out. It's not pulling anything that I've seen any found, good research about. I think it's a nice thing to do. It thins out the microbiome a little bit. I
Okay.
personally find it kind of tedious,
Yeah.
and it's not that many people I've seen that be the big game changer for. But
Okay.
if somebody likes it and they feel like, because then their teeth feel slippery, so it's then that feels good. I just don't know if it doesn't replace the mechanical removal with a brush and a floss.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
as an adjunct, great. But we'd all kind of rather be able to wander around the house swishing than standing in front of the mirror doing the tedious work of, you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like it's a little easier, so it's popular.
Yeah.
It's kind of how it seems to me, but
Yeah.
um, I don't think it
True.
hurts anything.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, good deal. And one of our last questions is that in the questionnaire that you mentioned, you were
Mhm.
still learning how to navigate where your efforts are best allocated at a given point in time. So I was wondering if that has changed. Have you found the answer, or tell us more about that? Because I feel like we can all kind of relate to that as like women who are, we have families, we have businesses, we just have all
Yeah.
these things. So have you found the answer?
Oh, it's a lifelong
Yeah.
challenge. And what I've come to, Lahana, I might be wrong, but I don't think there's actually a thing in any given point of balance.
Okay. Yep, I've heard that before.
So I'm always out of balance, meaning because I get down, I'm kind of obsessive. When I get on a new learning track, I go all in, and it is at the expense
Mm,
of some other things. Or if I get on a new fitness track, I go nuts over it, and then I'm not utilizing my spiritual life in the ways that I might. So I don't know that I found the magic um, formula, but for
yeah.
me, I found that if something has gotten my attention, it's almost like the universe is telling me, pay attention to
Okay.
this. And then it's okay to go on a learning spurt
Yeah.
for a little bit. Now,
Yeah.
granted, you can't just hole up and only study one thing. You still have to eat well, and you still have to go to work, take care of your household, do your laundry. But as far as like my general interests, like I said, right now I've had some more time. You and I were talking about this before we started recording, but my mother passed away a couple of months ago. And for some reason, that has just jarred a whole different spiritual side that is
Yeah.
really awake right now. So
Yeah.
my brain is working on that honestly all night long. I've noticed. I just
Wow.
am here. It's like, so that's where I'm at,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna run with it because to me it seems like, well, that's important
For sure.
somehow. And
Yeah.
so then maybe when that starts to wane a little bit, I'll focus a little bit more on some other aspects. So
Yeah.
I've sort of settled into going with the trends within my psyche and
Yeah.
letting it run a little bit because and then I find that fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
People are like, "What are your hobbies?" It's actually just learning new things,
Hey,
whatever it may
ask me
be.
in certain seasons, it's different.
Exactly. Yes.
I
How
love
about
that.
you? Is your season is different than mine with your kids and
Yeah. Yes. I mean, yeah, I agree. I know I agree, but also disagree. So I don't know. I'm
Mhm.
neutral, that there's balance because
Yeah.
yes, I have balance in the ways of I do feed into like as you say, like body, mind, and spirit, I always feed into
Mhm.
each thing every day. And to
That's
me, that's
excellent.
just kind of like balance, you know? So that's like what
Yeah,
I view as
yeah.
balance, even though it may not be, I agree though, but getting in depth about one thing,
Mhm.
it does tend to happen. And so maybe that other people would consider that unbalanced. But I would say
Yeah.
there's balance, but then there's unbalance because same like being in the season of losing like a loved one. I know in the past year, even before she passed, because my mom was expected, I
Mhm.
had that time to pretty much like grieve. Like I always say, like I'm going to pre-grief therapy because even though I am
Yeah.
grieving, but I'm able to do those things earlier. And I wanted to because I wanted to show up, especially for my mom. I wanted to show up as little happy Lahana when she passed and not just
Mhm.
blubbering Lahana that like is probably stressing her out,
Yeah.
to be completely honest.
Sure.
So I was able to show up when she was in the hospital, just me, and not and
Hmm.
that be her last memory of me. And so I was
Yeah.
really happy that I could have showed up for her in that way. But that depended on a lot of that work. So yeah, in the past year, that is kind of where a lot of my extra focus has been. Like I did all my
Yeah.
balancing things, but anytime
That's
I
great.
had extra time, I would be diving deep into like I'm still actually reading the book The Grieving Brain.
Okay.
Um and then seven lessons I learned from heaven. So I really have
Mhm.
loved near death experiences.
Yes.
Just
I've been on that track too.
yes, just to humanize something we won't know until we die. And
I
so
know.
you kind of grasp for anything of just like what is real? Like, yes, there's so many beliefs out in the world, but like, I don't know. I feel like near-death experiences are like real human experiences. And this one
Mhm.
in particular, she's a neurosurgeon. So she also understands the brain very in depth. And so
Yes.
I loved hearing her science perspective, but she's like,
Mhm.
honestly, at the end of the day, like I can't find a reason for me having this experience. So I don't know. So that
Mhm.
actually brought a lot of comfort during my when my mom was dying because I felt like I had this like vision of like where she was going in my mind. And
Yeah.
so it's brought like a lot of peace and comfort. So yeah, there's just certain
That's
seasons where
good.
I'm hyper focusing on maybe one thing a little bit more, but there's still like my
Yes.
foundationals of, like you said, movement and food and stress
Yes.
reduction and all of that.
Yep.
So
I think yeah, that is just living. You
yeah,
know, you have to stay to keep going. You have to keep mindful of all those things.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
for sure. And I know a lot of us too in business are like we're in a funk and everyone's in a funk for different reasons. But I don't know,
yeah.
I feel like there is a shift that's happening that I can't explain. So I know I'm not alone.
Yeah. Oh, I've noticed a lot of shifts lately.
Yeah,
It's wild. Yeah, there's a lot of things happening, I think, in our culture and
yeah,
with health
yes,
concepts. I've had just so many patients coming in just saying, you know, I think the pandemic had took a hit for a lot of people on their
yep,
attention to their health.
yes.
And it's like the world is finally kind of just getting back to some baseline, and then people are waking up and going, wow, okay, a lot of things kind of went by the wayside for a while.
Mm,
How can I tune back in?
yeah.
So people are coming in lately and they're like, the last time I had a cleaning was 2019. And
Yeah.
and then they're like, I didn't even think about it for so long. So
Yeah.
um
My dentist knows I usually have to tell him, I'm like, I'm emotionally getting ready to call you, okay? I need to get there.
right.
Well, amazing. I'm so glad that you were able to come on the podcast. Where can people find you? I know I'm going to have all your links in the show notes, but where is the
Oh,
best place
that's
people
nice.
can connect with you?
You know, on social media and on our website, I think it's pretty much just my name, Sharon Dickerson, DDS.
Okay.
And so, yeah, we are
Yay.
having fun interacting. I'm so glad that I got to meet you and talk about life
Yes.
and about what we're thinking about, what we're doing. I love what you're making uh, with your clients and with your social media. So, thank you for your work.
Thank you.
You're
Thank
helping
you.
people, you're helping all of us.
Thank you. Same. Well, it's so nice connecting.
Okay.